What's up, everybody? I hope you're all having a great day today. And today, I'm going to be breaking down the Baylor Bears 2020 football schedule. I'm excited for this one. Baylor was one of the most surprising teams in all of college football last year. I don't think anybody expected them to have the success that they had. They were really surprising. They were kind of like the Big 12's version of Minnesota last year. Minnesota also a team that just surprised a lot of people. And they had a great season overall. They fell just short of making the playoff. They lost in the Big 12 championship game, and they lost to Georgia in the Sugar Bowl. But overall, they finished as a top 15 team in the AP poll. And, they had a pretty good season, only 3 losses. So I was impressed with Baylor last year. In my opinion, they had one of the best defense in the Big 12 that we've seen in the last few years. I mean, the Big 12 usually has terrible defenses, but Baylor's defense last year was actually pretty good in my opinion. So that's definitely something that they can build around for them to have success for this upcoming season. Their offense, I will say, is a little bit slower than other Big 12 offenses. I don't think Baylor's offense really can compare to like a Texas offense or Oklahoma's offense. That was, I feel like, the one thing that brought the team a little bit down. And usually in the Big 12, you have a great defense, but I don't really think that was the case with Baylor in my opinion. But anyway, without further ado, let's get into the schedule prediction. Before I start, I do have to address the fact that Matt Rule is obviously leaving. He is leaving. That's going to hurt Baylor a lot. He rebuilt that program. Obviously, they had a lot of off-the-field issues when he came in, and he brought from a 2-win team to obviously what we saw last year. So he did great with Baylor, and losing your head coach, that always hurts, but losing a head coach like Matt Rule to the NFL, I feel like that's going to hurt quite a lot for the Bears. Dave Aranda's I don't think he'll be a bad coach. He was a good defensive coordinator with LSU, but still losing Matt Rule, that's going to hurt a lot. I think he was a great coach. That being said, you had a great defense last year. You're bringing in a defensive coordinator as your head coach. That definitely allows you to improve that defense even more. But the offense, again, that's just what I'm a little bit worried about. Charlie Brewer's coming back, I think, but still, I think he's losing a few weapons. And overall, that offense wasn't great last year. So we'll see how it goes. But without further ado, let's get into the schedule. 1, Ole Miss. So at the end of the 2019 season, I would have thought, okay, this is going to be an easy game for Baylor. There's no question Baylor would win this one easily. But obviously, Ole Miss has changed some stuff around since the season ended. They got Lane Kiffin, which I think is a huge help. Lane Kiffin, in my opinion, is a very good coach. Great personality. I think it should be interesting to see how he does at Ole Miss. I think it's a pretty highly contested game. It's exciting. I think Baylor, of course, is the better defense. But Ole Miss, I think, is going to be a decent football team. So really, this one, off the bat, I think it's going to be a close game at a neutral site. This is what I'm very excited to see, and I really think Ole Miss definitely has a shot at winning this game. I'm going to favor Baylor here just because obviously they had more success last year, and their defense still pretty good, and they have a little bit more experience. But Ole Miss could definitely put up a great fight. To Kansas, I'm taking Baylor here. There's no really question about it. I'm taking Baylor. There's no talent on Kansas. I'm gonna take the Bears by quite a lot. 3, Incarnate Word. We know who's winning that. We don't really have to go over that one. 4, Louisiana Tech. Louisiana Tech was actually a pretty good. They were a pretty good Conference USA team last year. They were a pretty good Conference USA team. I think they had 10 wins overall. The highlight of the season was probably beating Miami 14-0. Great performance by Louisiana Tech there. This upcoming season, I think they honestly can make the Conference USA championship game. That being said, big difference between playing in the Conference USA and playing in the Big 12. So I have Baylor winning this one pretty easily. It shouldn't be that much of a challenge, but Louisiana Tech did have some success last year. 5 at Oklahoma. I think it's a tough game for Baylor. This is a tough one. They're going to be wanting revenge, but a lot has changed since then with both programs. I think honestly Oklahoma has a big upper hand on offense. I think Rattler should be fine. The wide receiver core should be fine, even though they're losing CeeDee Lamb. They should still have a lot of talent. They have a much better recruiting class. Baylor's recruiting class isn't good. I forgot to mention that. It's not good at all, in my opinion. I feel like slowly but surely the defense for Oklahoma is improving. It's slowly, very slowly. It's not going to be incredible anytime soon, but under Grinch, I think it's going to improve a little bit. So I think Oklahoma is going to be a tough game for Baylor. it could be a primetime game, and just playing at Norman's not easy. So I'll take the Sooners here. So I have you starting off 4-1, maybe 3-2 if you lose the Ole Miss game, but most likely 4-1. Next up, you got the bye. Good time to have the bye after a tough game. 7 at Texas Tech. I think Texas Tech, to be honest, is a pretty easy game. No trouble there. I have the Bears winning. 8 TCU. TCU brought them to a few overtimes last year. I will say that. They brought them to a few overtimes. I think TCU definitely had it down here. I think TCU is losing some talent, but they're also bringing in some good talent. I think TCU is like a 7-5 team next year. So this should be an interesting game. I really think it could be close. I would favor the Bears here, especially because I feel like they have a little bit more talent. But this could be another close game. 9 at Texas. This one's gonna be a loss in my opinion. They played great against Texas last year. I'll admit that they played absolutely fantastic. But Texas had a lot of injuries. It was late in the season. I feel like they had a ton of injuries. This upcoming season, if they can stay away from the injuries, they should be fine. To be honest, in my opinion, they've got the talent. Listen, Sam Ehlinger's not incredible, but he's a decent quarterback in my opinion. He's at least a decent quarterback, and I think their offense, they have a lot of weapons. They have a lot of talent. Not a great defense, definitely not a great defense whatsoever, but they have a ton of talent, and it's a home game for Texas. Not an easy place to play at, so I'm going to take the Longhorns here. 10, Oklahoma State. Another tough game here. I think Oklahoma State's definitely a dark horse team to win the Big 12 next year. They look pretty talented as well. Mike Gundy's still the coach, and you've got arguably the best running back next year in all of college football. You could argue Najee Harris will be the best running back, but I think Chuba Hubbard is great. So I think it's going to be a tough team to stop for Baylor. I would give Oklahoma State the edge in this one. At Iowa State, another tough game. Honestly, Iowa State last year put up a great fight against Baylor. I remember watching that game, actually. It was early on in the season. People didn't know too much about Baylor. It was a close game. Baylor won on a game-winning field goal. Last-second game-winning field goal. It was very close, though. And I think Iowa State, to be honest, is going to be a top 25 team next year. I think they're going to be a very good team next year. Another team that could possibly make the Big 12 championship game. So I feel like this is going to be a tough game for the Bears. And it's at Iowa State late in the season. Tough place to play at. It's probably going to be a cold weather game. I don't think this is a good game for the Bears. I think it's a trap game. I'm going to actually favor Iowa State in this one. I feel like they're the better football team overall. 12 at West Virginia. They did great in 2018. Obviously, some things changed between then and now. They had a tough season last year, 5-7, I think it was. I don't expect West Virginia to be very good again. The atmosphere, definitely a tough place to play at late in the season. Cold weather game, but still, Baylor is the more talented team here, better coached, so I would give the upper hand to the Bears here. 13, Kansas State, another team that could be decent in the Big 12, to be honest. Overall, though, I think Baylor is the better football team, so I would favor Baylor here. They just have more talent, in my opinion, but we've seen Kansas State upset teams, like last year against Oklahoma, so don't overlook this game. It's the last game of the season. Kansas State could very well make it a close game. Overall, I have the Bears finishing at 7-5, and I know that sounds tough on them, and I understand they had a great season last year, and Baylor fans might not like to hear that, but just the way it is, I feel like the schedule is very tough. You have a new head coach. I'm sure he can improve the program in years to come. But this year, I feel like it's a transition year. I really do. Your schedule is harder than last year. And we have to remember, half their games are close last year. They had the worst out-of-conference schedule, I believe, in all of the FBS. I might be wrong on that. I know they had one of the worst, at least. But it was really bad. And their in-conference schedule, the Big 12 was pretty weak last year, in my opinion. They cut it close with a lot of teams. TCU, a few overtimes. West Virginia, 3-point game. Iowa State, game-winning field goal. Their 2 losses in the Big 12 obviously were close to Oklahoma twice, but still, a lot of their wins were close. I have to say that. Their wins were very close, so they could have very well been like an 8-4 team last year. In this upcoming season, losing a few weapons on the offense, losing Matt Rule, your head coach, I think he really was the main reason why they had success last year. It's going to hurt. I just feel like playing at Oklahoma, playing at Texas, those are 2 tough games. Oklahoma State, Iowa State on the rise, 2 tough games. And maybe TCU and Ole Miss. Maybe there's a loss there. It could be 8-4. I wouldn't be surprised if it's 8-4. But right now I have them at 7-5. I think I'm probably the most pessimistic person when it comes to Baylor football. I don't hate Baylor in any way. I hope they win the Big 12. To be honest, I like an underdog story. But I don't know. I feel like Baylor's not going to be a great football team. I've seen people have them at 10-2 for this upcoming season. So this is just my opinion. But right now I have them at 7-5. I just don't think right now they're going to be an incredible football team. They're not having a great recruiting class. That hurts a lot. Their talent, their young talent at least, with their recruiting class is not very good. So I think that's going to hurt. But anyway, guys, that's it for now. Thank you for joining in. Please make sure to like and subscribe. Leave your comments, predictions for Baylor down below. And yeah, that's it for now.